Mm-hmm. In Italy, they have a saying, "Pochi ma buoni," which means very few but really good ones. So we defined our ICPs. We understand who our customers are. We have it down. Now we have to understand how we're going to calculate the market. And for that, we'll spend the next 3 hours together trying to figure that out. What's the best way to do it? What are the tools that we can use to find that information? And to calculate our market share. There were some questions from the sessions this morning as well, especially, and it was actually one question was recurring, and it was when we will be going to a new market, where do we start? How do we analyze it, and how do we understand which market is the right one, right? So I added some information to my slides that we can specifically spend a little bit more time on that, because I understand that this is something that you want to look into at this stage. So we'll see also what criteria to look into, what do we need to know before we actually evaluate which market is the right one for us to go to. So without further ado, so I'll share from the beginning. Oh, I haven't shared my screen, sorry. Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm. So what we covered was the target customer. What we need to cover today is the market size and market research techniques. Basically, we'll start with the 4 P's of marketing, then go into quantitative, qualitative, TAM, SAM, and SOM, which I'm sure you're already familiar with. If not, I'll be happy to introduce them to you. They'll be our best friends going forward. Top-down and down-up research methods and application. So we start this time exactly here. So market research can be applied to any of the 4 P's of marketing. We can do a research about our product. We can do a research about price, how we position in the market, about the place and promotion. And we'll go one by one to see how we will do it. So the 4 P's of marketing and what it can be used for in more details is product specification. So what kind of product is needed in the market? Consumer needs and requirements. So we can do a research on any of these points, right? About branding, we can do research about how our branding is positioned in the market. About pricing, where do we stand in terms of pricing? Distribution methods, advertising support, market definition, segmentation, and forecast sales levels. So if you have a question on any of these points, the best way to do it is do a market research. So the benefits of having a market research, I think it's very self-explanatory, but and very basic. But again, we'll go through it to make sure we're all on the same page. So it helps to evaluate the potential of new business. It reveals possible business development directions, reduces the risk of marketing decisions, and makes marketing actions more effective. So just like we said with ICP, if we're talking to the wrong customers, we're most likely to fail. So market research will help us to actually de-risk our business. So with market research, we can define the market size, and we'll go into more detail to see how we will calculate that. And this is the next most important thing in the journey where we are right now, to understand how big is the market or how small the market is, and what we need to do, what kind of business decisions we will have to do based on that information. What's the revenue opportunity? How much money we can make in that market? Product market fit. We can do a research if our product, actually there's a need for our product in the market. Because before we can create all the shiny apps with the fancy features, but if there's no product market fit for it, we'll go nowhere. Product evolution and competitive situation. All these, again, all these pieces of the puzzle, we can use market research to understand where we are. Questions? Yes, Adi.
Yes, product evolution. What is this about?
It is, you will, so in every stage of your company, you will have market research done to understand whether the product is still, how to say, it is still needed, first of all, and also all the features are used. For example, you have a product, but if you never talk to your customers from the very beginning, especially, you will not know whether they are using the product with all its features. Perhaps they're using only 10% or 20%. And what problem they're trying to solve. Is it in line with what your initial idea was? Perhaps they have different needs, or perhaps you need to pivot or twist the product in a different way to meet those needs. So it's, again, just like ICP, market research is not one-off event. We will continue checking every single piece of the puzzle. Market research is basically a tool to have that information. Okay. Are we still competitive? Is our price still competitive? Is our product still competitive? Are we serving? Are we still serving our customers? Especially, it's a really, especially in the beginning, when it comes to product, it's really good to have the market research or return the feedback from the customers early and often, because you're still building the product. It's still in the making, right? So that feedback from our customers is essential. But also going forward, it helps us to prevent churn. We will not prevent completely the churn, obviously, to 100%, but to minimize the churn, because we will speak to our customers and we will hear what they're saying, their feedback. We can adjust, we can pivot, and vice versa. If we don't talk to them, they will just go somewhere else, and we will never know what happened, right? Yeah. So also, you're welcome. Well, we think about the customer satisfaction levels as well. We will not, once we onboard, we don't stop talking to the customers, right? We actually open the communication lines. We have perhaps a newsletter once a month in talking to customers, informing them what is happening in the company, so they feel part of the community. And once you are actually asking for some feedback from them, that they are willing to share the feedback. So, and the customer care and how we deal with requests that they have, all this, again, we use it every day. We just don't call it officially market research, but essentially that's what it is. So what's the main purpose of market research is to reduce business risk. If we think about going to a new market, expanding, or introducing a new product in the market, with market research, so with having, talking to our customers and asking about the new product that we want to introduce, or doing our homework before we enter a new market reduces business risk. It means that if we see that there's no traction in the market, there's no need for the new product, we can kill it right away. And there's a lot of different techniques that we will learn as well how to do it. So the main uses of the market research: market segmentation, customer satisfaction and loyalty. Think of all the loyalty cards that we have in our wallet. It's market research. When we fill out a card that we have even at the grocery store, going where we buy things, we have a card for probably every store we go to. They know when we fill out the information that they're asking, they know our demographics, they know where we live, they know what age we are, sex, et cetera, right? So it's just a way of seeing what we're buying. It's observation, and that's market research. So when you go grocery shopping at IKEA, they know exactly what you're buying when you swipe your loyalty card. They can tell how many times you're coming a week, on average, how much you're spending. And all that data is collected for market research purposes. Okay, so understanding and developing the offer, so the pricing as well, positioning the brand and communications, as we mentioned, new markets, new products, and advertising. So any questions until here? All clear? What is it used for? Okay, so how to conduct the market research? There are two parts in the market research. One is the data collection. The other is data analysis. So just like the example that I just mentioned with the loyalty cards at IKEA, they collect all the data, then they analyze, and then they make business decisions on that data. If they have introduced a new brand of cereal and it's not a great success, not a lot of people have bought it, perhaps in the next 6 months we will not see it anymore. All right, so somebody sits there and analyzes the data and makes a business decision whether to continue with that or kill it. And the data resources that are available are primary data and secondary data. So with the primary data is the research that we actually activate. The surveys, the observation, experiments, and focus groups. What are the focus groups? The focus groups are usually, it's usually a group of people that have something in common. So let's say we want to introduce our product in the market. We gather people that are in our ICP. So I'm thinking about Simone, about you, and I'm thinking about, for example, if you have a focus group, that you invite people who are interested in have the same interest, like we discussed this morning. So one of your ICPs, right? And you introduce your product. You let them have it, touch it, play with it, and ask for feedback. How would you use it? How would you interact with it? Why? What are the personal motivation of using it or not using it? And have them have an open discussion in a focus group about what their opinion is. Okay. So the primary data, so service observations, also one-on-one interviews are very effective. They're more time-consuming, but they usually last for 30 to 45 minutes, where we have a set of questions that we want to ask our ICP, so our ideal customer. And how to structure. So a lot of times I get a question on how to structure a one-on-one interview. And that is usually you start from the goal. What is the goal of the interview? What am I trying to achieve here? What am I trying to understand? And then from there on, from the goal, you can structure the questions that you want to ask that will actually lead to that goal. So if people answer me this question, will that allow me to understand what I'm trying to understand here with this interview? Normally we say about 30 interviews is a good start. Is a lot of time spent, but at the end of the day, it's time well spent because it de-risks, again, it diminishes the risk. Darius has a question.
Hi, I just have a question from my side. Maybe it's not straightforward like in this scheme. So it's better to try background researches and then go wide with the product, like worldwide, or it's better to try it in a small market, for example, let's say in Lithuania, with a small partly or small, how to say in English, like in a small competition, small size, some samples, and then collect the data and repeat again a few times and then go worldwide with a huge campaign.
So your question is about entering a new market, is that correct?
Entering market because from now at the moment it's prototype. And when it will become at the stage when we have to go to the market, it's better to work locally without showing the product outside, trying to not sell, but to develop until it will be polished. Or it's better to go, for example, let's say in Lithuania, in a small market, try it, then get some mistakes, then fix them, and then go globally.
Yes. The question is, the answer is yes. And I'll go a little bit broader. So from the very beginning, we ideally, we will have reached product market fit without having the product polished and 100% ready. It's never 100% ready when we go to the market, and we shouldn't. We should go as early as possible, as soon as we understand that the market is ready for it. And the way we understand that the market is ready for it, ideally, if our business idea works without the app, the system, the technical part of it. If we can verify our business idea without it, we are ready to go to the market. We can do it manually until our product is ready, until the technical part of it is ready. Because the technical part is the vehicle to deliver the service in 98% of the time, and not the product itself. Because what we're selling, what we're delivering is not the app, is not the technical part, but it is a service that someone will use. The technical part is the vehicle of delivering the service. Am I complicating the things, or is it understandable?
Yes, it's understandable, and actually the favor is that for me, for example, it's much easier to try it somewhere locally in Lithuania because I have a lot of contacts locally. So I can sell it to some companies here with because of better relationship. And after that, you can fix the problems and make it as a use case scenarios to other companies, because then probably you can show it that it already worked, or after it you already polished a little bit more, so it will more final product. Because I was thinking it's better to fail locally and fix it.
Absolutely.
And not try to, let's say, polish until it's working without any problems and go widely, because you're risking, for example, that somebody could start copying your idea. I'm not telling that it's so great, so everybody gonna start doing that, but just, you know, looking for the risks. And if you're gonna play locally, somebody could see and share the idea widely, and it could be, for example, copied, let's say in 3-6 months. Maybe not the same, maybe a little bit similar, and then you could lose the worldwide, because somebody, if they have worldwide contacts, they can go widely from the step one.
It's definitely to start locally, yes, but also to start early, before you are polished and ready to go, before you think you're ready to go. And the way you enter the market, the way you present your product is also important. Remember, we talked yesterday about those early adopters, right? They are happy to use your service, even when it's in beta stage, because you're offering something unique, something that is disrupting the market. And for them, the most important thing is innovation, and they're ready to test it out. Just remember to ask right away for feedback. We want to have the good and the bad, so we can use the bad feedback to improve our product, improve our service, and the good feedback to build the social proof.
Okay, thanks.
So primary data and secondary data. So secondary data is the one that is the so-called desktop research or desk research, where you can do the research online and gather information. There are official statistics, reports, industry publications, company data. It can be, think about associations, nonprofits. There's so many different, if you think about any service, any product that we interact with, or any problem that we have, there's definitely an association for it, or some things connected to it. And associations usually exist to provide information for people to find it. So a lot of times you can find really good data with association websites. So how we will go about starting our market research is now it's stuck for some reason. Here we go. We will use the secondary data first. So first of all, we'll go and find out what data we can collect ourselves. And then it will not be complete. And we will fill up the gaps with doing the primary with the primary data, doing the quantitative and qualitative market research. So we will gather this information, again, statistics, government reports, professional organizations, associations, website, even going on the competitor websites, looking at their customers, suppliers, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we can gather quite a lot of information ourselves without even talking to anyone. Then we will go and do the primary research, which is in this colorful slide over here, to fill in the gaps in our in the information that we have gathered. Survey polls, interviews, focus groups, observations that can actually help us to verify the data we have found. Is that clear? I'm assuming so. It's not that complicated. We tend to think that market research is something complicated. It's actually quite cool. It's a systematic collecting of data, and you can base your decisions on that. So online, what kind of research we can do? We can read blogs, we can keyword, we can look at the Facebook groups, for example. For some of you will be relevant. Facebook groups have so much information. I personally don't use Facebook at all, but I have an account just to access those groups because there's some information in those specific groups with specific target audience that you can find a lot of information because people share information. So I would definitely suggest to join those groups because probably a lot of your customers will be on social media. It's important to understand where they are, which social media, and I get that this question a lot as well. Which social media should we be present? Is it LinkedIn? Is it TikTok? Is it Instagram? Is it Facebook? Where should we be as a business? Wherever your customers are. And that's why it's so important to understand first who your customers are and then understand where do they hang out, because this is where you want to be. You want to interact with them. You want to be in front of them. Perhaps you will buy some ads to place in front of their faces, because we know that they care about the problem that we solve. And we can also gather data. Augustine?
Is it just the sales that we should be concerned about when picking a social media channel? Or for example, if we grow big enough and we start to worry about hiring process, so perhaps we can think about that, like where would our potential employees also be at, not only customers. Am I thinking on the right path?
Yeah, sure. You want to be wherever your customers are. If we're talking about customers, that's where you want to be. If we're talking about hiring process, that's a different discussion. And if we say, okay, our employees will probably be, or potential employees will be on LinkedIn, then we'll have a profile on LinkedIn and have our ads posted on LinkedIn. But talking just about the customers, to start building your brand awareness, and also to listen to them, because there's so much noise on social media, and in those focus groups, obviously it's a lot of time. It's very time consuming, but if you're part of that group, you can actually ask questions, make a poll where people can interact and answer the questions that you would want. So online polls and surveys are quite successful when gathering data. Just think about LinkedIn polls. There's polls all over LinkedIn right now, and people are just clicking. Right? Someone is collecting the data. Okay. So the fun part is how to actually estimate it and calculate it. So once we have gathered the information about our target group, once we understood we have 1, 2, or 3 ICPs, right? And we can estimate how many people are in each of those groups. We have gathered the information, then we can start thinking about the methods that we can estimate those the market. Let's talk about TAM, SAM, and SOM. So the TAM is obviously the total available market. So let's talk about examples. If we are selling bottled water, let's say, total available market will be, think about distribution, for example. Everyone who needs water, right? Drinkable water. Serviceable available market in the segment that TAM targeted by your products and services, which is within your geographical reach. Then we will think about all the bottled water at that point, right? And there's also, we can divide it by in glass bottle and in a plastic bottle. Then think about the geography. Where can I actually, if I'm entering the market, where my distribution will be initially, locally, right? So we're thinking about SOM. What is the proportion of the market that I can capture in the first couple of years, let's say? Normally it's between 2.5% to maximum 5%. Now, when we think about investor presentation, usually we present SAM. Because that's a realistic or close to reality indication on how big our market size is. Questions? Mante?
Yes, for example, about that total available market. For example, as a reservation system, we offer reservations for the companies, businesses that don't have it or wants to improve it. And then we have different segments, massage salons, beauty salons, wellness, and wherever. So this stamp would be specific segment or in total businesses that are able to use our reservation system?
TAM is the total of the businesses that could use a reservation system in their business. The SAM then will be within your geographical reach.
Thank you.
So all the businesses that are that qualify that they can use a reservation system in Lithuania, let's say.
Monica, these numbers are relevant for us just to evaluate the future, let's say, but it's also relevant for investors, yes?
Absolutely, yes.
And let's say we can play with numbers here because we can make some numbers bigger than they really are. Let's say in my case, I know that tutoring service is actual from 5th grade. First, second, third, fourth classes, they are not very often, yeah? And it would reduce, quite significant part of let's say, SAM, yeah? And how about that? Should I remove this part of a sample? Or should I just place the whole market and say from 1st to 12th class, we're gonna make it?
So the thing is, it's not only about presenting the data, because the next question the investor will ask you is, how did you come up with that number? Can you explain to me how you, because before they decide to invest with you, they have a due diligence process where they will run the numbers on their side to make sure that that's actually realistic.
Okay, so we show their real view.
Yeah, so the more realistic you can be, the more likely, obviously, you will get a chance to go through that process.
Okay, thanks.
Was someone else that raised hand?
Me?
Yes, go ahead.
About this geographical reach, what if we're building software which doesn't have any geographical limitations?
What do we know? So are we going to launch straight away globally? What do we know about all the markets? We can calculate SAM globally, but it's not very realistic data. It's a lot of work to be done because, and we will discuss about going through different markets. We need to understand certain things before we enter the market. Cultural, legislative, there's a lot of factors that come in when we evaluate the market. So definitely starting locally is more realistic, and that's the approach that is usually taken. We cannot hear you.
Sorry. If the software is of general purpose and there is just a download link on the website which anyone can press, so that doesn't limit to any geographical region or age or whatever. So what is the difference between the TAM and SAM then?
Then you will calculate the people who are into this kind of activity. So this kind of interest, there's a limited amount of people, because TAM would be every person, like anyone in the age group from 18 plus can actually download legally, right? On the website, let's say it's 18 worldwide, and be your customer. Is it realistic though? It's not realistic that every single person age, will be interested and willing to download your product online. So that would be TAM, right? But it's unrealistic. The SAM would be what is realistically, how many actually people that are into building, using your technology and building and working on a project. And that's what we want to understand. Okay,
so TAM is somewhat land of pink unicorns.
Exactly.
Basically unreachable.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
So if we're saying, for example, I am selling, let me think about it now. I want
Monica,
to sell, yes.
I can give you a simple example of mine.
Go ahead.
Maybe it would be, very, very clear. So TAM in my case are all children who go to school. SAM is the percentage of the kids who use tutors, yeah? So let's say, I know that in Europe, the average is in country around 20%, 15. So let's say we have 100 million students, so it's TAM, and 20 million would be SAM. And some would be 2% out of those 15 or 20 million. So that's simple.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Why some was only 2% in your example?
Yeah, basically, because as Monica mentioned, so usually it's 2.5 to 5%. So what you can expect to achieve in the first couple of years, and that would also be a great result. So yeah, it probably comes from practice.
That's practice, and also probably also from resources, because you don't have enough tutors to probably service all available market, I assume.
Yeah, and probably it comes from practice of many companies who start new markets, and it's just statistics, you know, out of 1,000 companies, the result is so and such.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
What is the point of calculating this? Like all the kids from ages from 6 to 18. What is the point of such TAM then?
To start somewhere, because then we can narrow it down.
And you know, if you see that your TAM is just, you need to double up your clients and you will reach the TAM. So it's also probably not the best case scenario. If you're reaching 20,000 clients and you already have 10,000.
Making business decisions as well, right? So if we see that we decide as a business that we will serve kids that are only the last 2 years of school, and we see that our SAM is quite actually small after calculating that, because we will see that our TAM is all the kids that are in 11th and 12th grade. Our SAM will be the percentage of people, of those kids who use a tutor. Now, if that's too small for us, because then we will put a price to our service and we can already see how much money we will make. If we want to be more ambitious and we think that our product can service kids from 8th grade, again, looking at TAM and SAM, the numbers will be different. It's an indication. It's an indication that will help us make business decisions going forward. And again, talking about investors, we will, by the time we are done with the accelerator program, we will have very clear who our customers are, what our SAM is, what is the approximate price how we will price our product, and what is the percent, how much money we will make, that 2.5 to 5%, how much money we're able to make in the first couple of years. From there on, how much money we will need from the investors, if that's what we're doing, if we are raising funds and looking for to raise some money, and what we will use that money for. So we are on our way in this direction in this accelerator program. On a wider sense, TAM and SAM and the whole market research tools that we have is to de-risk our business and to make sure that we're making the right decisions. Agla had a question.
Yes, I do. Just to make sure I got it right. So SAM is the most important number, correct?
Yes.
Because that's what we can serve with our business.
That's the potential. That's the potential for us to take as customers.
And then SAM, you mentioned
2.5%. Let's 2.5%. That is the first addressable market, the first ones that as we launch, what is realistically for us to conquer. Again, it can be from 2.5 to 5% depending.
But it's like, what is the period of time? Is it like 1 year, half a year?
First 2 years. Statistically, that's what it's how to say, statistically what is known is that in the first 2 years, if you conquer from 2.5 to 5% of the market, of your SAM market, you're in a good place.
I see. Thank you.
It's healthy. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one because I'm not 100% sure about SAM.
Okay.
As Simonas, I believe, mentioned, if we will be trying to achieve US market in the future, or UK market, or I don't know, Europe market, SAM should be, Europe and those countries should be included in SAM or not at this moment? Because we will be starting locally, right? But in the near future,
locally, if you're starting locally, you keep it, you keep SAM to locally. Once you have, you will start scaling into different country. So if you say, okay, you want to present that the next country you're going to is, I don't know, Poland, Latvia, Germany, I don't know. Then you can do the same exercise with that specific market. How many businesses are in Germany that can use a reservation system, and do this exercise again, TAM and SAM for the German market.
Okay, even though this market, our product is already available and suitable for those markets, right?
That's correct. This is just, it's the size of the market. It's not about the product, it's about the size of the market. How many businesses could actually use it, potentially?
Okay, thank you.
Armina?
And if your business has users and clients which are different, as you know, for us, the user is a young person, the paying client is the company. Should we do this exercise for young people and for companies separately, just to see?
So are you talking about B2C and B2B separately?
So our business is B2B, but it depends on the large number of young people that will enroll in our platform. So should we do market size for how many young people there are, how many we can address, or should we do this for companies or for both?
If we're talking about young people, and it's one person is one transaction, right? That's how we calculate it. How many people can use our service? So you will calculate by young people.
I have one more question. I know that sometimes they count people per number of users using smartphones. Does that make sense? Instead of calculating per, person. So instead you calculate.
It depends what kind of service we're trying to calculate. So if we're talking about, Uber like this, I think it was, I have it here as well. I think it's this one. Yeah. So if we talk about Uber, right? So total addressable market is transportation sector, including buses, metro cars, taxis. So all the people that are taking any transportation service can take Uber, right? Then when we talk about SAM, we're narrowing it down to the people who actually use cab and taxi only. And then the ones that use smartphone.
So basically they decide that they use their potential market because they have smartphones. So it's basically for those who have an app as a service, like a tool for service.
That's correct. Because if
given that the majority of businesses are about, apps or platforms, so it makes more sense to calculate per people who have them, smartphones.
So if your business requires so if your business to happen, or your service to happen, a person needs to have a smartphone. Anyone who doesn't is excluded, obviously.
But then everyone here in this accelerator building businesses that need smartphones? No? You
No,
have to order and
no, not really.
okay, then I think in my case, right, a platform where you can order mails, like letters. Do you need smartphone for that or not? I would say yes.
So a smartphone is the vehicle for you to perform the service. It's not the service itself. The service itself is writing letters. Can you do it manually? Probably yes, right? So the smartphone is, or the application, whatever your idea is the vehicle to present your service in a different way. But the service itself is not the app, is not the application. It's the fact that someone will receive or send a letter.
Okay, gotcha.
And if you can verify your business idea before you build the technology to facilitate that, that's the best case scenario. Because as soon as you start saying, well, what is your business? So what do you guys do? Well, we have an app. When you start a conversation with an investor like that, you're already starting from the wrong foot. Explain your business, explain your service, not starting from the app, because the app is the vehicle, is not the business itself. Because if you're basing your business on the app, it's investors will not be interested in that. Okay, so we went a little bit further. We're here. So I think we're clear on this part, no? Everyone is clear on Sam, and Sam?
Yeah, seeing this funnel maybe 6th time in 3 months.
Okay.
Because I have other courses. And
Get very comfortable with it, because this will go with you. ICPs and this is the basics, right? So it will continue growing with you. So get used to these terms. So here it's taken from the accelerator program textbook, talking about worldwide fast food restaurant. So TAM is like, imagine you don't have any competition, and you can just go ahead and onboard all the fast food restaurants that are worldwide. That's not going to happen, right? It's unrealistic. So this, again, explaining the difference between TAM and SAM and so on. But if you're studying locally, what is more addressable to you? What is realistically in your direct market? And then we'll take 2.5% to know what's the sum, what is realistically achievable in the first 2 years of the business. Now, the top down and down up approaches. The most common is the top down approach. Is that where we understand TAM, see how we can position ourselves in the market and how much realistically, how many customers we can take with SAM, and how many we can address right away. They say that you should try both approaches because they can be very different. And if they're very different, you missed out on something. There's something that's not how to say, it's not correct. So if you go with both approaches and the result is similar, you're good. The calculations were done correctly. If they're way off, there's something that you need to dig deeper and see what's where the mistake is. So the top-down market sizing is usually easy to do, can be misleading, and because can you really reach the entire market? It's very unrealistic, and that's what we discussed also earlier. Can we really reach all the people that can download worldwide? I mean, statistically they could, but it's unrealistic. We need to look deeper, because there's specific qualifications in our ICP, in our customers, specific requirements that will actually make them our customers. And that is part of SAM. Is this quite clear?
Just think like, look at your clients who are buying now and try to find the similar ones which are still not buying.
So when we did the customer segmentation, right, we can evaluate for every segment what is the potential for every segment, and calculate our SAM. And we can do that going up or down, but the result should be similar.
Okay,
Saying
thanks.
this is how many.
Thanks.
All right, so new market entry. I had a couple of questions this morning from different teams, and I think this is very important. So let's talk more about specifically this point. We can talk about new market entry. We can talk about market entry in general, right? Even if we talk about our local market. 4 main factors that we need to consider before entering a market. Cultural, ways of doing business, meaning if my service needs to be erogated through an app, and I am entering a market in emerging market where 50% of population is illiterate. They, what is the likelihood that they will have a cell phone and use an app and be and use a service that is erogated through an app? Very unlikely, right? So perhaps, and there's more than just cultural in there. What the example that I made, but you get the point. So in some cultures, in some countries, the way we want to present our service might not be the way they do business. But we need to know that. We need to find that out before we enter the market. Administrative and political. We need to know the currency, we need to know the laws, we need to know the legislations, We need to know how, if we need a patent, perhaps in that country. Some countries are more have more legislations and are regulated more than others. If we think about Germany, there's a law for every single thing, right? We will have very strict rules. Again, if we think about a different country, if we think about even, comparing US, for example, we will find different legislations, different patenting situations, geographical in terms of how we can penetrate that market. If infrastructure is their economic distribution of wealth, financial, human resources, will we be able, if we're establishing a new office in Bulgaria, USA, will we be able to hire the right talent? Right, from infrastructure point of view. If we are selling a device and we have to ship it in a different market, are we going to, do we need to have a presence in the market? If you think about Russia, for example, we probably have to have an established official company entity, right, to be able to do business. So all of these things that need to be considered before we enter the market. Questions on this?
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes.
I would just like
please.
to ask your opinion. I think that's quite relevant topic because to what extent do you believe it is useful to actually collaborate with various government-funded agencies like, I don't know, Business Agency Vienna, for example, in Austria, or similarly, or like perhaps in Lithuania, it's Invest Lithuania, the agencies that help you establish business in that particular country. Do you believe, I mean, it's worth time and, I don't know, efforts maybe, or maybe even money?
It depends how hard it is to penetrate a market for on your own. These are really, every country has this type of service, and they're very useful. They're sometimes expensive, and I've had, for example, in when I used to work in UK, and the company decided that they will move to the Netherlands. It was actually myself moving to the Netherlands for the company. And they had to establish, kind of an entity and start paying taxes and everything else. And they used a governmental agency to help them navigate the taxes, the laws, the local, situation. It was very, very expensive. And thinking about the Netherlands, where everything is in English and everybody speaks English, the company would probably have had no difficulty navigating it themselves. But what they didn't have the time, and I didn't have the time. So what we did, we spent a lot of money, but we saved time, essentially. If you're going to a country where English is not the main business language, it's a very good idea to use a governmental institution to help you out. And I'm thinking now about Italy, for example. The bureaucratic, it's a jungle. It's a bureaucratic jungle here. it would probably be a very good idea to use a local agency to help you establish a business locally.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Don't know if that answers your question.
No, it totally does. To be honest, I didn't know that they also charge money, because from what I know, had any contacts with them from the first look, it seems that they do a lot of things for free. So, but if you say that it might be expensive, then, well, of course, that's something to consider.
Depending on the country, there are some of the governmental consultations usually are free, but when you get to a point where you have to use a service, they will probably direct you to their trusted advisors, and I'm sure there's a business to be done.
Okay, yeah.
Again, every country is different, and I'm not familiar with the local Lithuanian one.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Now, another question that I got this morning was how to choose a market. How do we know which market is the right one to go next? Because we think it might be a good market, but we're not sure. What are the important things to consider? So first of all, to assess the market itself for whatever you're selling or whatever your product or service is. How big is the market for it, right? So we will calculate our TAM, our SAM, potentially understand how big the market is for us. What are the trends, buying behaviors, buying power, meaning economical situation? Is there a competition in the market? Who they are? Who are the main players in the market? We have to know it before we get there. What are their market shares? And how and find how you're different, how you're unique, how differently you solve the same problem that is already being solved in the market. Why would the local players, the local companies or local people use your service? Why is it different, right? So know, and again, go-to-market strategy. This is all that you will define in your go-to-market strategy, how you will enter a new market, how you will position in the market, because this will be very important. If you position yourself just like any other player, it will be difficult, right? Because they already established, their brand is well known, and you're coming in fresh. So finding your niche or finding the angle, your uniqueness in how you irrigate the system, and it can be also not what, it can be how you deliver the same service. You don't necessarily have to be cheaper, right? So, and again, this will be part of your strategy. What is the angle they're going to enter this market? You will be competing on price? You will be competing on how you irrigate your service? Is it perhaps you can offer a better customer service? Perhaps your onboarding is easier. So understand what the competition is and how they deliver the service that you will be competing with. That just has a question.
Yeah, and there's always also I want to add up about technological knowledge. Also, I'm looking from my point of view, and I can use for an example. Let's say Germany. Most of the people they're thinking that's like high technology, high known of technologies, and the country level of technology using and knowing. Most of the people they're thinking that it's very high level, but for example, they're still using regular letters. They're not sending emails, still using faxes, and you cannot sign the contract online because it will be signed basically on a letter. And these small, it doesn't, you just cannot know things like these. And you can try to come with online signing document technology, some kind of, and nobody wants to use it because it's not usual for them. And it's very hard to change that thinking and doing things, like if you want to change like how managing all those things all country.
Thank you. So that's you're just saying exactly what we discussed earlier, right? As an example, the cultural part, how they do business, right? You just said it. You said they will not sign a contract online. They will want you to come to their office and sign it physically, right? And that's the cultural thing, the way they do business, right? So we need to know these things, right? Before we enter the market. Now, German market is really, how to say it, it has a huge potential, but at the same time, it's the slowest in Europe, perhaps not the slowest, but one of the slower ones to adopt technology, to be digitalized. They know that. They know that is the cultural resistance to it. They know they need it, they want it. At the same time, it's not easy to enter that market. Even though if we just look at the economic situation and infrastructure and all that, we're like, oh, this is a great market to go to, right? So yeah, thank you for your contribution. It's valuable. Stage of the market development. Will whatever we presenting in this market, is it innovative or is it something they already have? And we're just, we will be just competing with the local. Is it still trending? Is it something that is perceived as innovation? It's important for us to know. Market accessibility, so legal environment. How easy it will be to set up shop and start doing business in this market. Oops, sorry. Political, economic stability, business objectives, what will it mean for our business to do business in this country? What does it add to our business? Benefits and disadvantages of this market. Is this market better than the other? Where is the better opportunity? But once we have done our homework and answered all these questions, this is a lot of homework to do, by the way, to look at every single aspect for our product. But once we have done this homework, then we can answer the question. Germany's versus Poland versus US versus something else. For us, it makes sense to go into this market first and then to this market. Because the worst we can do, we just decide this is where we go next. And we get there, we spend money, we spend time, effort, perhaps translated our app into that language. We get there and there's nothing. We cannot even operate because there's a legislation that we cannot pass. We're not compliant. Okay. Okay, so once we have done that, the next best thing we can do is a SWOT analysis. Once we have gathered all that information, we're actually in a position to do a SWOT analysis. We can write down all the strengths, all the weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in the market. This is a SWOT analysis of Amazon. Don't ask me how old this is because I don't know. I found it on the internet. But this is something that your business should do as well before entering the market, even for local market.
And also, we were doing this in other studies. It was told that it's the best way when you're comparing the same SWOT analysis for you and for your closest competitors, and what you have the same, you just have to take it away and leave it only the differences which you have with the competitor. So I don't know, you can add up it's okay strategy, or it's better to do just your own.
So this is from a different perspective. This is saying for example, for Amazon, what are the strengths of entering your market? What are they bringing as a company? And what is the situation that they find in the market? For example, weaknesses. They're talking not about their direct competition. Here they're talking about the market itself. What are the weaknesses in the market? Like free shipping, increasing costs, for example. Increasing costs of shipping. That's the threat to their business, right? It's not, they're not comparing. This is not a SWOT analysis against the competition. It's a SWOT analysis of the market itself. But I understand what you're saying.
So in this case, you have to make more SWOT analysis from different angles. Let's say one.
SWOT analysis is just a tool to have more clearance of the situation, and it can be used, you know, like you said, for competition. In this case, it's used for understanding the market. It can use for any. It can be used for anything. It can be used for your business strategy as well. For example, if you think about introducing a new product or releasing a new feature, or you can do a SWOT analysis as well. It's just a tool to evaluate. Any questions, any thoughts, anything that you want to say or add? Before we continue. To see what. Okay, we're halfway. We can probably, what do we have next? Okay. We have market research techniques. Before we go there, this is a really good exercise to do, actually. Based on the information that you have today about your local market, would you be able to do this exercise?
You talk about this SWOT analysis?
Should we give it a try?
Yeah.
Okay, let's say we give ourselves 15 minutes plus maybe 10 minutes of a break. Does that sound good?
So we go back in 15 minutes, yeah?
In 25.
25.
You have 10 minutes of a break, and then 15 minutes to do this exercise.
Okay, fine.
We have to
And then
write
we'll
strength, weakness, opportunity, threats.
And threats are the, you know, what can go wrong. Okay. We'll see you in 25 then. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. If you have any questions, just say something. I'll be here. Kaip jums sekėsi?
Kaip ir ok? Atrodo bent jau, kai darai.
Ką naujo sužinojot? Ką naujo pastebėjot?
Oh, sorry, in English, just didn't
Oh,
thought
sorry,
and
yeah. Right.
switched to Lithuanian.
What have you found out? What did you find out something new? Did you notice something else by entering all this information?
Actually, I did quite similar ones, so probably most of the points were already solved or written down before.
In my case, in our case, most of those things were in mind, but not written like somewhere. So nothing so special, but yeah.
More clear when we put it down.
Yep.
So what to do with them? Writing down is easy. Now what?
Now apply it.
I mean, so if I fix an issue, so should I scratch out this, or like? I mean,
What do you mean?
we can write all those weaknesses and strengths all we want. That doesn't change anything. So what is the actual use of this diagram? So what's next?
To have a clear idea what we are going towards. So what is the situation in the market? So I understand you analyze the market and put in how you will position in the market and what were you were talking about the weaknesses. So what were the weaknesses in the market that you have written down?
I've got two. Like, first one is that we are a known player. And the next one is that we are scarce on resources, both human and material.
What about the market itself?
The weakness of the market?
Is it, are the players tech savvy? Is there enough information about whatever you're building? A lot of things that can be, it's about the market.
About the market. But,
is there a legislation that prevents you from operating, for example? Perhaps there's nothing.
And competition goes into threats or weaknesses? Like
Maybe
if there's already an
opportunities.
established, if it's a large company already established in the market and then you're trying to disrupt the model, is that a threat or is that a weakness that you have?
It's a threat.
It's a threat, okay. So then on weaknesses, it's basically you compared to competitors or you compared to what the market expects or needs?
It's about the market itself. Is there a weakness in the market that will prevent you from being successful in that market?
Okay, so it could be like something inertia. Like the users might be quite slow to change, to adapt changes. Okay.
What we wrote, I don't know if it's good. I would like a comment about it, but high expectations for the lowest price and not the biggest market, as we're talking about Lithuania.
Okay.
That's
so these
okay.
are the weaknesses. Yeah.
Okay, great.
For example, for you, opportunity, there's a huge opportunity because the small, medium companies have, like, let's say 80% of them don't use the reservation system. That's a huge opportunity, right? A threat can be that there's already, I don't know, 10 players in the market that are trying to solve the same issue.
Yeah, we wrote the same.
Mm-hmm. So then when you will think about the next market you want to enter, again, you will do the same exercise to understand where the market is. And but again, you will have to answer all those questions that we looked at before that you haven't yet looked into for other markets. That's why we did it for the local market only, because these are the questions you already answered. You already know what the political, cultural situation is, et cetera, et cetera. All right. So let's move on. The main homework, of course, will be to calculate your TAM and SAM and understand and understand where you are. It will be part of your journey going forward. So work on that. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me, of course, and also to your mentors. They will be able to help you out.
Monica, can I ask?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Regarding these numbers of market size, so I didn't do this before. So is it that we should better show like more countries, bigger revenues, bigger opportunities, or again, we should be realistic and understand that we are not able to enter into 10 markets in 2 years, and we should choose, let's say, 3 or 4 best countries or 2. What's the approach?
So if the local market for whatever you're selling is really small, I would prepare a slide for the next market showing that, you know, the next market will be Latvia, Poland, Germany, whatever, and what the opportunity is there. Have the numbers ready, because, you know, the local market is perhaps too small, especially if it's easier to scale the same service to another country, because we did a research and we answered all those questions, and the situation is very similar. And all we need to do is perhaps translate our material and or whatever that is, and it can be deployed into the next market.
So basically, we need to choose the best fit for our case, yeah? So we talk about time and money and what we can achieve in 2 years, let's say, yeah?
And traction. When we speak to investors, showing traction is very important. Now, traction, ideally, we have paying customers, ideally. In this stage, obviously, it's very hard to achieve because we're still figuring out everything, right? However, having people that have enrolled on our platform, that have, I don't know, we have spoken to, if it's B2B, this and this company, and they are interested. This is something that we already want to show to investors. Traction is something that they will be attentively looking into, saying that we already have customers that would be interested to use our service, even though, you know, it's not ready yet and we don't have paying customers, but the interest is there.
Okay, because I see many slides. I have seen some pitches and they are talking all about billions, but I see that they are still in developing of the product. And it's like, okay, I can also show billions, but let's get back to earth, yeah? So, I mean, if I come with my, let's say, market of whatever, 100 million euros, yeah? And some other guy shows who does, let's say, some service and he shows 10 billion. I mean, I want to look good. I want to attract them. But my approach would be to show real numbers, because I mean, anyway, if they're gonna invest, they're gonna make their own due diligence and they're gonna know everything. So
absolutely, and you have to be able to back those numbers, because they will ask questions. Say, how did you come up with this number? How did you, why are you pricing, for example, how did you come up with this kind of pricing, with this kind of business model? Once you will have those conversations, probably not during the pitch, but if they're interested, all those questions will need to be answered, and you better have an answer for it. So know your numbers, like realistic numbers or close to reality.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Okay. So the techniques, the market research techniques that we have available to us, and this is actually the last piece that I wanted to cover with you. So we have quantitative and qualitative research techniques that we can use. And they are different in a way that quantitative research techniques are the ones that calculate exactly what it says, the quantitative. And what we, so the number of people, how many users, how many companies can use our service. And for this type of research, we usually use questionnaires. We use phone interviews, online service, Google Analytics, where we gather data, analyze it, and make decisions. Now, on how to make those questionnaires, there's also, it's a complete different topic, and we can try it ourselves. We can download some examples online. There's technology out there, tech companies that offer this as a service as well, with questionnaires already ready, or forms that are ready that we can just use. Otherwise, we can give it a wild shot and try it ourselves as well. The use cases for the qualitative research techniques are usually for exploring attitudes and behaviors. We want to understand how people buy certain things. Testing adverts, we'll use in-depth interviews, for example. Developing concepts, new products, we'll use focus groups, as we mentioned before, where we gather people to evaluate a new product, where we can just let them perhaps test it out, a small sample, or whatever we are selling. Also, building a picture of a market. So focus groups can tell us also more information about the market itself that we're trying to understand. What are the available products in the market? What do they use? How much money they spend on a certain amount, on a certain service, on a certain product. This information can be very useful as well. So this is like an alternative to one-on-one, because it's more focused on the qualitative part of the research instead of quantity. So where we have to understand more more in-depth information, not just how many, like not how much, but also in-depth how, for example, we can say, okay, what is the motivation to buy one product or the other? So more on the behavior part of the that we're trying to understand. So in-depth interviews, focus groups, and ethnography. These are the techniques that we will use to understand the quality. So as we said, in-depth interview is one-on-one. We will spend about 30 to 45 minutes with one person, asking them specific questions, usually open questions, where they will answer, giving us a precise, but again, to start with, we need to have a goal in mind. What are we trying to achieve with that interview? What are we trying to understand? Perhaps how they buy a similar product, how they make buying decisions. Where do they research? Like if we want to understand, for example, our distribution, we can ask a person, where do you usually go? Which channels do you use to find a certain product to buy? Do you use any, is it a referral? Is it because someone referred this to you? Is it because you looked at the reviews? Which channels, distribution channels did you go look? And which distribution channels did you purchase that specific item or service? So we can understand where our audience is, where our target audience is, and where we can position ourselves as well. We can guess, or we can go and talk to our customers and understand how they buy these things, how they buy these products. So market research main use cases, just to summarize, so for market segmentation, achieving optimum pricing, which is a discussion in itself, entering a new market, testing advertising effectiveness, launching a new product, testing customer satisfaction levels, improving brand positioning, and identifying new positioning possibilities as well. Questions on the methodology? What have you tried so far? What kind of methodology have you tried so far? Have you done one-on-one interviews? Mm-hmm.
Did one-on-one interviews. I did semi-focus group with 6 or 7 people. Like we're doing group interviews and talking about the service, about how it works. They try to use it. I was watching them how they're failing without telling a lot of things how to use it, and just writing down what's wrong, what's good. Also,
how did you do that?
I just gave the sample of prototype because it's quite easy to make it, and I just gave a QR code, and I told that try to use it to understand what to do. So I was watching the technical failings because of devices. Some of them, they did something wrong, and we just now looking into it, what bad happened. And after they tried, they gave me the ideas how to improve the way. Most of it I already know because it's the wireframing and UX part. UE part, I can make it a little bit later. So any comments are okay, but it's already, it's hard to communicate on UI part because it's totally zero done on that thing. So, people don't can't see what's in our wireframes. And the other part is I'm having lectures from as a brand manager. So I have a lot of lectures from advertising company, from companies, CEOs, from merchandising, and from many parts. Like there's 30 plus lecturers. So usually I'm trying after every lesson to go and contact one-on-one if I see that it could be relative to my product. So I'm just, growing up and networking and having an opportunity to call them or to write them later to ask questions.
Do you mean with the same people that tested with you?
With the people who are lecturers for me. So for example, after this lecture, it's easier to ask you something because I already have a contact, at least a little bit contact with you. So it's easier to call you, and without lecture, you just ask me, who are you? And sorry, but probably I won't help you. Just, if the guy from the street will come. So growing up, building up a networking, I think it's very important because you can get very different opinions from experienced people from the part they are very strong into.
I wanted to ask a question about how did you go about selecting the people who you wanted to test, who you wanted them to test your service?
Very easy. It's who is around me. I'm just taking them. Hello, my friends. Sit down and listen because you're here. I need to help. So I want to give you something, and I want to just look at you. How do you handle this? Because I need the persons who don't know how to use this kind of service and this kind of thing. So it giving me point of views where people are failing and just looking how to make a better way for them and just getting back experience and ideas about the service by itself.
Okay. Thanks for sharing. Who's next?
I can go. We did one-on-one. Actually, the first interviews one-on-one that I did actually changed the whole business. I had an idea in mind. I had a vision in my head, and then I talked to people, and they were like, "Okay, no." And so I changed everything. So the business that we have today is just based on those interviews. And then we continued doing interviews based on this new idea and exploring further. And in our case, we did interviews with both users and what will be paying customers. That's one. We did a focus group with about 40 people in the users category. I did a little bit of surveying as well, but not too extensive, to be honest. And we did some, I don't know what it's called, like secondary research, looking at the market and studies that other people have done, and some statistics and just things like that.
Does everyone understand how we need to do the market research? Has everyone tried to do market research, try to have one-on-ones, try to have focus group interviews? Any other experiences that you want to share? Thank you, Armina. It was very insightful. Sharing our experiences is very useful for each and one of us. Because we don't know what we don't know. Another question that we get, that I get quite a lot, how do I calculate my pricing? How do I know?
What is that pricing?
The question that that comes a lot in this stage is, how do I price my service?
Ah, okay.
How do I decide how much I should charge?
Okay.
Is it bad that we are still afraid of thinking about it? Like, we're still in the stage of, let's not think about it for now. Let's see how it goes, and then we'll worry about pricing. Like, should we just do it?
So what is the train of thought that we should have with the pricing?
I'm always thinking also about the pricing, for example, but actually the main thing is I cannot, right now at the moment, I cannot count the costs. How does it cost to use one time of the service at the moment? Because it's still in prototyping mode, and I need to talk with my CTO after the technology will be polished, at least it will gonna work. Then we can count how much it costs to use per one user, per one scenario. And we are still in a sense, I know, but I just want to understand if this gonna cost 50 cents or 30 cents, because it doesn't seem very much, but when you're counting in a percentage, it's a lot. And it will come up a little bit in the later stage. So I'm leaving this for later on.
So how will we know how much money we need to ask as funding?
Also, for me, in my case, I don't know at the moment, and I'm not asking at the moment the money. I still have a few months for this, and these few months, because my service is still in prototyping, so these few months we're gonna get the numbers with which I'm gonna move on pricing and knowing the numbers, how much I need to. I know how much I need to build it. I already have the numbers, but to use it and to sell it, no, I don't know the numbers.
Has anyone gone through this process already in this group?
Yeah, we kind of set the pricing, but I don't know if it's the right way. But right now we know the costs for, let's say, one user, which will be decreasing in the future when there will be more users using our SaaS product. We excluded the salaries, just the product itself, what the margin is for using the product for single account, single user. And that margin that we will get as a, let's say, profit is around 80 to 85% at this moment per one user. So with extracting the salaries, it's a huge one, but when there will be salaries and so on, the margin will be lower. But I heard one kind of idea some time ago that if you want to go into some market, you for those who are looking into the price, you have to be a premium product with a premium pricing, or you have to kind of go with the lowest pricing to cover those users, those customers.
It's about the strategy, your go-to-market strategy. How do you want to position yourself? Are you going with the angle, we are the cheapest? Are you going with a different angle? So are you beating your
and
competition on price or something else?
in this case, one of the things we are going with the lowest price in the market, which is 25% less than competitors. In some cases, in other cases, it's like 10 times or 20 times less. So.
What is going to happen if tomorrow you have a competitor that offers a cheaper price?
Yeah, so this is one of the things that we are kind of doing, right? It's the price thing. But on the other hand, it's like feature lists and so on, which will be introduced later on. So, you know, and the value proposition as well.
Selling on price is always trickier, or competing on price is always trickier because there can be always a new competitor that can rule us out of the market by offering the cheaper price, if that's what we're going for.
Yeah, I think that it will not be like our top first priority. It is like one of the things to going into market, but it will not be like the top thing that we will be offering. I think later on we will be increasing prices like with those 20% models, or I don't know, doubling the price until the market, we will reach the peak, you know. But for now, we are going, I think, with the lowest price to cover those who, I don't know if it's the best idea, but.
What is the main reason why you're not adding the salaries
right now? Because we don't know the salaries that we will be kind of, you know, targeting into this, because right now we are 2, right? And yeah, we have to add those salaries, and then we need to calculate when there will be like the break-even point.
Sales and marketing expenses, distribution expenses, onboarding expenses, if there are any. We have to start thinking about those expenses as well, right? So we can price ourselves correctly. Again, writing everything down is probably the best to do. And it seems like it's no-brainer, but we tend to store it. It's just 2 of us. We talk about it and it's in our head, right? And we don't write it down. Writing it down and starting to build a process. Someone is testing Resty is one of the best strategies to have. So start thinking about your go-to-market strategies, start thinking about your pricing, start thinking about the next market you will go to. Start writing down what's your mission, what's your vision, how you will, what is the company culture that you will want to establish. It will sound a little crazy, but the earlier you start, the better foundation you will have for your company. It will be easier to attract the right talent, start building your brand. And everything in parallel. Yeah. Anyone else to share ideas about how they've done a market research, which they have found out, and how they went about pricing themselves? Or are you still in the process of finding the right pricing?
I can say how let's say my service, tutoring service, how we define the prices. So we basically looked around at what other companies offer, and yeah, it was quite easy because prices were quite similar. But as I mentioned previously, we didn't choose to make a high price, but we could because we deliver quite a lot compared to other companies. Anyway, we offered a bit smaller price in order to attract customers, because we still know that there are some people who compare companies offers, and yeah, I think we in the stage where we want to attract people, and maybe that's a small point where we can also get a bit of the market in order to show them that we are doing well, we are providing really good service, and yeah, that would help us grow, and maybe word of mouth would be one of the investments in this case, as we lose some profit, but yeah, we open opportunity for some people to try our service.
And Tadas, maybe you have tried, for example, to sell a little bit cheaper, but for a longer period. Let's say you get cheaper prices, but if you're gonna use our services for at least 9 months.
Yeah, actually, it was the beginning of the whole process. When we created our first website, we said, okay, let's make it half year. Let's say ticket, it's gonna be cheaper. You're gonna save money. Doesn't work completely. People don't think that long. They want to pay €1 less now for one lecture, and yeah, it didn't work actually. And we offered like 30% minus if you take 6 months. No one wanted it. Okay, I mean. Yeah, it was strange, but yeah, we tried it.
Quick question, Tadas. Who was paying? Were the students paying or the parents?
It's parents paying like 99% of the time. Yeah, so yeah. Even if students are making registrations themselves, anyway, people who pay are parents.
And did you ask them what was the main reason for not wanting to save 30%? Is it because they were not sure that their son or daughter will use it? What was the main concern?
The main thing was that they didn't know for how long they will need the help, and maybe it's too long period, because maybe they need help for only a couple months. So we also had like 3 months membership, but also didn't attract anyone. So people don't want to be attached. They want to come in now and maybe come out after 2 weeks.
And Tadas, have you tried, for example, not in time scale, but in how many times you will get? Let's say if you buy 10 times of tutoring, 10 lessons, then you will get in 1 year or in 2 years, it doesn't matter. Let's say you're just buying times.
Okay, so it's another thing, it's operations. It's not that easy to organize these lectures. Let's say you want to have same tutor for all the classes. So tutor might change, he might leave our company in like 2 months. So it means it's going to be someone else. So new tutor starts with you as a new student. He doesn't know your problems, your personality, how to behave with you. So basically we just sell membership. You start now, you finish, you cancel this service any day you want, but there is no such a thing. I want a lecture now. I want maybe tomorrow. We have a strict like schedule, and you go according to those days and times every week. Yeah. We are not that flexible, but looking forward, we probably will have such a solution, because people want to be flexi. They want to change times, they want to reject lectures right now, so we don't have that flexibility. So but yeah, it's future.
Very interesting. Again, ask them the reasons why, to justify the behavior, so you understand and you can adjust as well. Is it really, like, why would they not want to save the 30%? The commitment, we said. They don't want to commit. Why they don't want to commit? Is it time? They don't know. They don't know how, if they will have time. They don't know if they will need the service, meaning they will get better in a month. Or so, what is the main reason, right?
Basically, people think that it's gonna be like a short contract, and we'll solve all the problems they have compounded from 10-year school in like 2 months or a month. So it's their initial idea in the head, but it's
so is it realistic?
Absolutely not.
Okay, can we communicate that in some way before they purchase?
we can communicate it, but it's always,
Excuse me.
you know, in most cases, people are, how to say, suspicious. And even
what are they suspicious about?
they are suspicious about long contracts because they are afraid, because they have burned in the previous life.
What are they afraid of? Is it the quality of the service? Is it, what are they afraid of? What do they need to test out to not, what is that fear founded on?
I would say it's first, it's like a service that they didn't use previously, and they are not sure whether they will get an effect and how long it takes to get the results. So basically, at least as I see from customer side, is just test and then see, because by without knowing what you can expect, how long it would take to have results, it's quite difficult. So that's why they don't want to sign long contract. They just jump in and say, okay, we will leave anytime we want. Is it fine? Okay.
What if you do a month? They want to test for a month, they can test for a month. If they want to continue, then they can purchase more. Then you offer that in that moment, not upfront, but maybe after a month, you can introduce the pay now for 9 months or whatever and save 30%. Because at that point, perhaps we're offering that too early. We haven't built trust with them. If we offer it a little bit later in the journey, where we have built the trust and they trust us now, because I understand it's a trust issue, perhaps then you can actually cash in on that opportunity.
Yeah, that's the case. Yeah, I'll write it down, because simply what's now in the market, it's that demand is higher than supply. So, and we are not, how to say, I mean, if they leave, it's fine. We're going to get new customers. So that's the situation now, and it's going to change. And when we're going to jump into other markets, we're going to maybe see different view, you know? So this approach, what you have said, maybe that would work.
Listen to what the feedback, right? Ask questions, but also listen to what they're saying to you. Because what they're saying behind you, and ask secondary questions. What is behind there? What does that mean when they say, like, why would anyone want to save 30%? Right? So what is the issue behind it from stopping them to taking on that opportunity? And what we can do to fix it.
Yeah, these are high quality questions, so it would probably help us. Yeah, and again, one thing, my team is quite small, and at this moment it would be like it would grab some of our time, but yeah, that's a good point, because everything.
At the same time, think about it. Think about the opportunity. If they do go for 30%, what that will mean to your business? More cash up front, et cetera, and see if that's worth your time. Just do some math, because a lot of times we say, oh, it's not important, but when we actually calculate it, we say, well, we should stop and take a closer look at this, because we're losing revenue.
Yeah, so
we're missing out on opportunity.
Yeah, I probably didn't come out with these ideas and these thoughts because the market is as it is now. Customer acquisition cost is quite low, so we are just moving forward and we're not looking back what we're losing. But yeah, we should do that, because those days will come at some point.
You said there's more demand than supply, which is a really good situation to be in.
Yeah.
So are you maximizing your revenues right now?
Absolutely.
I'm just going to challenge you right there.
Yes. I mean, we, as I do this thought analysis, what we have is that we are quite fast and successfully adopting to the market. So we know the ways to find good tutors fast, employ them very fast, and let them go. So I don't want to be, how to say, to say that we are, we know everything how to do it. But I mean, we reach the results in 1 year that other companies have reached in 4 or 5 years. And it's simple numbers. I know other companies know our inside data because people talk, and I know other companies' data. So, I mean, we know those ways to use these opportunities. That's what we're doing now. And the whole situation in the market, in the whole world, yeah, with tutoring, people need it because we had remote schooling for quite a while, and it decreased the grades. Yeah, and it will have long-term effect. Actually, I wrote some articles about it. So huge effect and a huge opportunity.
It is statistically known that raising your price by 1% can result in 8% of increase in your revenue.
So 1% in prices, 8% in revenue.
That's a significant amount. So
yeah, actually,
see if you're actually maximizing your revenues right now.
Yeah, actually, we have an idea to raise the price after New Year because there's going to be another wave of the customers. So January, February, it's going to be some months again. We're going to have a wave. And I mean, why not? Because we have some companies that already don't have places for students. And we ask new customers, why did you come up with us? And they say other companies didn't have place. So, I mean, yeah.
All right. Everyone else, we're in the wrong business then.
I mean, yeah, it is what it is now.
All right. Is there anyone else who wants to share?
I would like to ask a question in your take on what is better and in which market probably to say you can save up to 30% or you can have 2 free months. Let's say on annual plans.
Is that a question to me?
Yeah.
Can you repeat the question? Sorry, I was distracted with the message that came in through.
Okay, so what's your take on having an annual price with percentage, like minus 30%, and on the different side, you can have 2 months for free.
Saving money psychologically is more attractive than getting something for free.
From my experiences, my lecturer told the different one because people want to get something free. They feel better because I got something free, and I still have to pay if I have to pay something with a discount. But if I'm getting something free, they're more. I'm talking about more like supermarkets, and when you're buying something in a shelf, then it's better that you will get something for free. And for e-shops, when you're having, let's say you will pay 50 euros with a discount, let's say you have to pay 50 euros for the product and for the shipping. And if you pay 50 euros and will get free shipping, people gonna choose free shipping than in most of the cases than product with some discount and shipping on top, let's say in this case. So I do not agree, or I don't know, maybe in the different cases there is different outcomes.
If you tell me that I will get 2 months for free to go to the gym, I'll probably never show up. If you tell me that I have to pay for it, I've subscribed for a year, get a discount, then I feel like I have to go because I paid for it.
I have a lot of examples in both ways, when people are buying and never show up, and when they're getting for free and they're using those 2 months, and after that, sayonara. So I know both cases in both ways, so not sure which one is like. I think we cannot use any of it as a rule because we need to compare what kind of product or service and how people are intent to pay for it.
But Monica, isn't it dependent on the type of the customer? Because I would say there are two types of customers, one who wants to save and one who wants to get, let's say, more benefits. So Franciscus, in your case, you can have two types, one who save money and the other who wants to get more, let's say, I don't know exactly what you can offer, but like premium stuff, let's say, and they are able to pay more, they don't care about the price and they want to get some benefits. And the others want the cheapest solution, even if it's not working that fine, but okay, I just want cheapest. So maybe it's also the question, who are you targeting?
It's different approaches. And also in SaaS, because we're talking about a SaaS company, most of the time you pay, if you get a discount if you pay for a whole year. And that's the most common payment plan that you will find. You will get a freemium or you will get a test. And recently I used one myself. I wanted to have the test account to see how the system works. And I didn't know that with the freemium in test account, which is for 2 weeks, I got all the features unlocked for me, even the most advanced ones. So I really loved it. And when it expired, it went to the freemium, which has half of the features. And obviously, I was like, no, I really like the ones that I tried out. But now I'm more willing to pay for them because I already know what those features are. So then I can choose, to upgrade and use it. Or again, pay for the whole year. Now it's Black Friday, tomorrow. No, not tomorrow, on Friday. And there's a lot of SaaS companies that are doing discounts as well, cashing in. Obviously, cash got up front is always more, makes more sense for the company, right? And that's what we're trying to achieve.
Yes, as Darius and Tadas mentioned that my question was like, there are two sides every time, and I wanted to ask for your side, just because I think for those sides, you have to try it out, to see which one is going better. And one more thing about pricing that I heard, and in some companies it worked really well, is that they went from 30 days trial to 60-day money back guarantee. And it was the huge spike of signups paying from the first day because they had kind of free trial, not for 30 days but for 60. So it was really interesting to hear that for some companies it worked, and also this 2 months for free and 30% discount is also, I think that maybe it could be dependent on the market, and I don't know which one is better.
Let's test it out then.
I remember this with the premium LinkedIn when I forgot to cancel it because it's quite hard to do that, and I have to pay for a hotel, and my card is empty. I'm like, fuck, I know that there was like 700-800 euros and like it's zero. How come? And I'm checking that it's already just a few minutes ago the LinkedIn premium just cashed me out. And it took maybe 3 days to find the right person, because it's so made so complicated, especially made to take the money and to give you then really hard way to get in, so you can cancel it and go get money back. But it's possible to get money back. Even the rules are written that it's not they're not giving back, but it's still possible.
Okay.
So those money back guarantee, they are taking money from those lazy ones who are not getting, fuck it, I'm leaving this, and I'm leaving the money.
We need technology to actually manage all our apps and subscriptions. That would be the next business idea. All right. Is there any?
It is. You can go to Apple or to Google Play, and you can see all active subscriptions on your account.
Okay.
So it's like a regular Apple and Google technology. And
thank you.
With apps also, there is a risk that, for example, Google and Apple can make themselves the same app or some kind of technology, and for you will be bankruptcy. There was a case story with the AirTags. There was a few companies, startups, they're doing pretty well with creating small stuff, which gives you opportunity to track that small stuff. So you can put it in a motorcycle, in your backpack, and whatever you want, on a dog leash or somewhere else. And you can see in a real time where that dog, for example, or your motorcycle are. And when Apple came into this business, they are letting to use their services, but you have to pay for it, and Apple have the same product, but they can use their all Apple devices. So they are cheaper and they work better than competitors who are not Apple. And for them it's bankruptcy, because you cannot compete with Apple when they have all, devices in the background.
All right. Tadas had a question?
Yes, Monica, as you mentioned in the beginning, on Monday, that you have experience with go-to-market. And if we talk about the services, from your experience or researches that you faced, what percentage of free trials convert to customers? How effective is it?
Again, depends on the service. If we're talking about SaaS businesses, quite a lot.
So
it's, yeah.
But in percentage, what would that be? Like 20%, 15, 10?
Definitely more than 60%.
More than 60?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
From what I remember, yeah. But again, talking about SaaS businesses, it can be different from for your business. And again, freemium, you'll have to decide, is it 14 days? Is it 30 days? And you have to calculate how much that will cost you, of course, and that will go into your customer acquisition cost.
Absolutely, because the thing is that it's for us, let's say for our service, it's very cheap to do it. But what is not achievable at the moment is administration, operational cost. As I mentioned, one of our problems is that we still have a ton of manual work, and what we are working towards is a solution which would reduce this work and it would be eliminated. Then we can try this approach. But now we can do it, but we cannot So
you need to optimize it. But as we talked this morning, I think a good CRM system would solve a lot of that manual issues for yourself.
yeah, no, absolutely.
Where you
So
can
it's,
automate it.
yeah, so it's the step, it's the thing that we are about to create, and we are working on it now. So yeah, it's coming.
And when you will start your sales process, definitely would suggest to sign up for a CRM system where you can actually track the customers you're talking to. There are some premiums that you can take advantage of, like HubSpot. Depending again on your business, different CRMs are out there available. From Pipedrive, HubSpot, Salesbox, which is really cheap. So there's tons of them. Find one that suits you. I'm very comfortable with HubSpot, for example, and it has the marketing piece, the sales piece. But start putting a process together early. It will save you time.
And I want to add up, there is services like Zapier and some others which are giving webhooks. So they're allowing to connect two different systems into one working system. So let's say it could be booking system, it could be some, I don't know, banking system, and that Zapier could connect them so they will work together. So, and you even don't need to have any programming skills to do that, or you can buy the.
I can confirm that. I don't have programming skills. I'm able to use Zapier.
Yeah, but from programming side, those apps should be programmed to have Zapier integration. So if app you are working doesn't have Zapier integration.
Even from Excel sheets, that you can integrate information. Like from an Excel sheet, you can have extracted this all this and go into your CRM system, for example. So if you have been working in Excel sheets with all your customer data, you can actually transition it quite easily into your CRM or wherever you are transitioning them to. So there's technology out there, definitely. When it comes to sales and marketing, whenever you're ready to start acquiring your first customers, there's a lot of technology that can help you as well with that. I see some of you are more active than others. Probably depending on where you are in the journey as well. We were discussing pricing, we were discussing market research. So going back to and closing off as well, the goal that we wanted to achieve in these 2 days were to understand ICP, how we can actually define our customer, how we can segment our market, how we can measure our market, and what are the tools out there that we can actually use. So yeah, we have achieved that goal. If you continue, if you still have questions, let me know. I'll be happy to have a separate call. We can talk about your specific use case. We can discuss that in more detail. Start thinking about how you're going to price your service. Don't shy away from it. You will still have to start looking into other markets. You know now the process, you know the questions that need to be answered before you choose and how to choose the next market you will go to. Size the opportunity and start thinking how you will present that opportunity to investors as well.
Cool.
All right. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure working with you, spending time with you. Anything I can help, you have my contact information. You have my LinkedIn. And let's keep in touch. I'll be following your journey from the sidelines, rooting for you. And yeah, all the pieces of the puzzle are coming together.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks,
you.
Marika.
Thank you. Bye.